Hi everyone in British Literature, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your Week 6 instructional video. So I'm just going to go to the content area to walk through what we are focusing on this week. So if you scroll down and look at week number 6, you'll see information in the chart from our schedule. So this week we're going to read the biography of Robert Louis Stevenson, written by our text editors. And then begin The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the short story written by Robert Louis Stevenson, but you're not going to read the whole thing. You only are going to read up to the section entitled The Last Night. So you don't have to read it all at once. It's a lot of reading, so I want to break it up a little bit. So your focus this week is you're watching the weekly instructional video. I also want you to take a little time to watch this MLA video I put together a little bit ago. Just as a refresher, I just want everybody to be really familiar with how to utilize those in-text citations and how to quote, that kind of thing, because it's required a lot in some of our writing, and I just want it to be fresh on your mind so you can, with a lot of confidence, submit any work that requires that kind of, any work that has those expectations. You do have a discussion post that's going to be due on Thursday, and then a participation quiz that's due on Sunday. All right, and then everything is outlined here. And remember, you need to respond to 2 colleagues in the discussion area. You're watching what will appear as number 1 here. I haven't put anything to review, but of course, if you want to take a look at some other things, look at our syllabus, the rubrics, that kind of information. I'm going to take us to our discussion area. And this week I wanted to do something a little bit different and bring in some images. Okay, so after you have read that first part of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I want you to find an image that depicts a scene, right, or a setting in the section of the story. I put fun, right? I'm really excited about this. So, of course, we have to do some writing as well. So after you choose an image that relates to a particular scene, a particular setting, I want you to post it in your text box here, like I have. You should be able to just copy and paste it. So you should be able to just kind of right click or double click if you're using a Mac laptop, copy image, and then paste it in the text box. But if not, head over to the D2L and Tech Help module, because there is a document there about using different features in the discussion posts, and one of them is where you go to insert images. Okay, I also put a note here, be sure to make the image smaller, because when you paste it, it's going to be ginormous. So don't just leave it that large. Make sure it's still visible, but make sure it's not huge. I want to ask you to write a paragraph that explains the image that you've chosen. So this is going to require quotes because you're justifying your use of that particular image to relate to a scene, right? So avoid just copying and pasting a whole sentence from the text. That doesn't help readers understand your choice. So I want you to really focus in on the particular words and phrases, and I put an example below. And I want to know, Robert Louis Stevenson is very well known for the imagery that he utilizes in his writing, and some of it's even interestingly contradictory. But he uses a lot of language that sets up that image for us. So you need to pull those words, that language, and explain your choice. Okay, so here's what I thought of. Now what I'm doing, it's so I'm actually looking at a character. So instead of looking at a scene, a setting, I'm relating to an actual character. So it's not exactly the same as your assignment, right? This is what you want to avoid because it's way too general and it doesn't have enough direct explanation. So related to this image up here from the what I imagine with the text and a character. I chose this, and this is to represent Mr. Utterson. You'll learn about Mr. Utterson. And this is what I might write, but it's not right. I chose this image because Stevenson wrote that the character was, quote, a man of rugged countenance that was never lighted by a smile, cold, scanty, embarrassed in discourse, backward in sentiment, lean, long, dusty, dreary, and yet somehow lovable. That's a lot, right? But I'll have some students who will drop this this quote and then say, so that's why I chose this picture, right? Or this picture is what I thought of when I read those words. The man in the image is tall and thin. That just, I don't, like, what in this quote has created this image? What in the imagery and the language Stevenson uses has led to you choosing that particular image of a scene or setting? So here is an example of how to be a bit more specific. So I wrote, for some reason this image is similar to how I created the character in my mind, because the way Stevenson describes him as long, lean, yet somehow lovable. I actually imagine the character from a cartoon from my youth, Ichabod Crane from Disney's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow short film. I'm not sure if any of y'all are familiar with it. This isn't actually an image from the movie, but it's something similar, right? Though Crane isn't necessarily drawn as having a rugged countenance, he's a bit goofy and embarrassed in discourse as he bumbles through life and conversations. Long, lean, somehow lovable. So I would go on to expand, in this image, the guy looks lovable because he just doesn't look offensive. He doesn't look angry. He is long, tall, and thin, right? So I would expand a little bit more on, the language that I've specifically chosen from this. Now, this is not a perfect quote to match this image. He does not appear cold, and he, his face was never lighted by a smile. This gentleman looks like he's a friendly person who might smile. And you can explain that, right? There's not going to be that perfect thing. And that's where your writing comes in to offer that kind of connection and explanation. Okay, so you'll click Start a New Thread. Make sure that you have your name and your chosen pronouns. Come in here. You should be able to paste the image here. So let me see. I went all over looking for some images, right? So I just did a search because I thought of Ichabod Crane. I thought of the character. I saw this. This is a modern day Ichabod Crane. I don't know if any of you watch Sleepy Hollow. I went to the original source for it. I right-clicked on it. So I copied the image. And then I pasted it. But then, you can shrink it, you can cut it, center it, that kind of thing. So you have all of these tools up here that you can use. If it doesn't paste, then you can go to this little mountain range right here and find the image if you save it on your computer, okay? And then you'll type in your response, click post, and presto, right? You're done. All right, so that is our week 6 discussion post. Like I said, really looking forward to it. If we go back to week 6, you're also going to have a quiz. And I want you to know that the quiz kind of covers a lot. It covers questions related to Robert Louis Stevenson's life, related to the text, and then, of course, related to the MLA video, because, again, really want that stuff to be fresh on your mind as we move forward and utilize that kind of writing and those requirements according to MLA in our journals, our discussion posts, that kind of thing. All right, so a pretty straightforward week. I hope that this comes at a good time because you may have other things going on, tests in other courses, big assignments. So this is a pretty straightforward week, and it may be a week where you can get a little bit ahead if you need to in this course or others. As always, reach out, let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I hope you have a wonderful week.